Hi, it's Tammy. I am in my element, in my Honda element. I am here to talk to you about a strategy that I think is so interesting. So this is something that can be used as a mindset strategy, a little bit of like a neural hack. I love to learn about how the brain works and then try to figure out how to make that brain work for me instead of doing its own thing willy-nilly. So I like to share about all the strategies that I use as a person who lives with persistent pain and as a physiotherapist and yoga teacher who I treat people who are experiencing both short and long-term pain. So this is a strategy that I use for mindset and also just being aware of it. I just think it's like super cool. So if you are studying psychology, or if you have that background, then you're going to be like, yeah, this is the thing that brain does. But I just think it's like really cool, and maybe you've never heard of it. So the thing I'm going to talk to you about today is called priming. Priming is a psychological phenomenon that happens in our brain all the time. It happens when we are like in autopilot. It happens in our subconscious. So our conscious mind can only hold so many items in its consciousness at a time, and the rest of it all just gets packaged to the unconscious. So when we're driving to work, you're driving and you're making micro, adjustments on the steering wheel and the gas, and once something becomes a learned skill or a learned pathway or a learned how to get somewhere, then it goes into our unconscious mind, and we are then just calculating that, on autopilot. So our brain is constantly tabulating all the information that's coming in and trying to put as many things into the efficient subconscious as possible, because it wants to leave energy for addressing things that are new or like changes or things like that. So it's a level of our awareness that is like it's underneath our conscious awareness that this is happening. So basically, it's that you're being influenced by the world around you, and you're making decisions based on that without really realizing it. So there's been lots of studies done, and you're thinking, how does this relate to pain and stuff? Okay, I'm getting there. So studies have been done that have shown that participants come, like, say, into a room, and this particular room has like a briefcase, pen, clipboard, laptop, things like that. They're waiting in that room. And then there's another group of people that are waiting in a room that has sort of neutral things in it, like a backpack, a blanket, a cup, a toy. Like they're just neutral items. They're not like businessy. And then they have those participants play a game. The people in the room with the briefcase and the businessy stuff are significantly more likely to make cutthroat decisions and profit-based decisions than the people who waited in the neutral room when they play this game. The people in the business room are less likely to collaborate, less likely to share, things like that. And this works with like all ages. So those are the things that are like super interesting. Or like you can be primed without realizing it by, like, if you're in a study and they will like show you photos of words that are things like brazen, rude, impatient, those kinds of things. And then you have another bunch of subjects that are looking at words that are like sharing, community, collaborative. And then you ask those people to do like, the tasks. And there's a significant difference in the people who are primed with these different words. So like in terms of like they will be put in a room with one of the people who are part of the study, and they are being made to wait and not interrupt. So the people who were primed with these sort of like poor manners words, rude, brazen, and things like that, those people were like significantly like less patient to wait. Like they interrupted at like 4.2 minutes or something, whereas the people in the group that had read the words of like patient, kind, collaborative, community, they were likely to wait like more than 9 minutes before they actually interrupted. So like stuff like this is just like super cool. So then how does that relate to us? It's like, can we prime ourselves? The answer is no and yes. So we can't prime ourselves in the moment, because as soon as it becomes to our conscious awareness that we're doing this to ourselves, then our logic brain can kick in and then it can like decide, no, we're not doing that. So it has to be in the conscious. So this is how I use this, is that you can set up your environment so that it primes you to be making decisions and doing things that is going to bring you closer to the person you want to be or the things you want to do. So that's how I use priming for myself. So some examples of that is like, if you're having trouble sleeping, then removing everything that's non-sleep related from your bedroom. And so maybe you've heard this before, so that your brain only associates sleep with the bed. Whereas if you have other things in your bedroom, like a stationary bike or, I don't know, a shovel. Why would you have a shovel in your room? We won't go there. So, but if you have things in your bedroom that are not sleep related, then it can sort of cue your brain to behaviors that are non-sleep related. So that's what I'm trying to get at. And so, so let's say if you have your running shoes by your keys in the morning, or if you have your gym bag, you know, at the door before you leave, then that's, you're more likely to comply with yourself in terms of the things you want to do. Whereas, you know, if it's not front of mind, if you don't have things in your world that gives your own subconscious mind the impression of who you are and what you want to do, then sometimes you're actually fighting yourself a little bit. So these are just ways of like, kind of like I say, taking the edge off, like reducing the barriers, trying to make my brain work for myself. So one of the things that I did with the high performance business coaching program that I did was I had to write down 9 words of who I wanted to be, what words did I want to describe myself, how did I want to like go about my days. And so some of the words I chose were bold, generous, vibrant, you know, all those kind of things. So I wrote down 9 words that I sort of felt like, this is, you know, if I could be fearless, like what would that feel like? So our task was to write them down and then read them to ourselves every day. So one of the things I did, because my house is an open concept and I'm walking by the refrigerator all the time, and I spend a lot of time in the kitchen, it's just kind of like my favorite place, is that I wrote these words in big bold on the refrigerator, right? So every time I open the door, even if I'm not reading them out loud, my subconscious is seeing these words. And I've wrote them with the intention of, I want to embody those words. I want that to be how I could describe myself, what I'm like sort of trying to attain. So that's a way that you can just sort of set up your environment to like cue yourself. So if I'm going to prime myself, I need to set up my environment to be more conducive to what I want to do, how I want to be, like the kind of person I want to be, and that kind of thing. So we're being primed all the time. So why not hack it? That's what I think. So priming is happening all the time. It is just a psychological phenomenon. It's happening every time we go in the grocery store, every time we go to a gas station. Have you ever been to IKEA? Like, that is the place that has that down pat. Anybody who sets up stores, does marketing, understands priming, because, you know, you go into IKEA and you can't get out unless you really, really look for like the quick shortcuts. And then by the time you get through the whole IKEA store, even if you bought nothing, you get to the end and you're hungry and there's the food and it smells so good. Those Swedish meatballs, they get you every time. So IKEA is a great example of that type of thing used in marketing. It's setting up the environment for you to buy things, and then also so that you buy their food when you leave because you're hungry. So if we're going to set ourselves up for success, let's say, you know, I want to be watching my spending, or I want to, you know, or I'm somebody who I tend to not be able to, you know, not buy that treat at the grocery store or something like that. So one of the things is like making a list of what you're going to get at the grocery store, going into the grocery store, and then just getting the things on the list. Okay, so that is a type of priming. You are more likely to come out of the grocery store with just the things on your list, and 0 or minimal extra things if you already have a list that you're checking off. So being Gen X, I write it down, pen and paper. You could have it on your phone or, audio note or something like that. But having a list, going to the grocery store, you're more likely to come out with just the things on your list than if you go, just going by the seat of your pants and be picking up a few things. That is like the invitation for the priming in the store to get you, because they have it laid out, where the gum and the treats are. It's right before you leave. So you're more likely to be able to not, succumb to temptation if you have a list. So things like that. So that's priming, and there's lots of cool ways that you can set up your own life to prime yourself to behave more the way you want, decide more towards the way you want to be deciding. It's about getting to know your own quirks. It's getting to know your own flaws, your own tendencies, and then trying to hack your brain around that so that you make more decisions like you want yourself to make, instead of just going why do I keep doing all this? And it's well, how about if we steer the bus? I want to be steering my own bus. I don't want to be just on the bus like a passenger. I want to be driver's seat. So let's try it. Let's try some priming. There's tons and tons of information out there about what priming is, how to use it in conversation, wearing certain things to a job interview, just so much really cool stuff about there. So now you know that we are being primed all the time. This is how your brain is meant to work for efficiency's sake, and so let's hack it for our own good.